Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about astrology and the possible death of Naya Rivera. She is an actress on series Glee, and there's some speculation that she might have died in some kind of a drowning incident. I'm going to talk about natal placements in her chart and transits in her chart that may possibly have been tied into this, connected with this. But the thing about it is, first thing I'm looking at, and people can talk about, they can undermine, undervalue Pluto all they want, but nobody can dispute the impacted significance. It might be a generational planet, but it looks like it's has played some role in this. If she has indeed died, transit Pluto right now is making a conjunction, or at least a loose conjunction, to her natal Sun in Capricorn, and the Sun is in her eighth house in her natal chart. The Sun, of course, can be about life and vitality. The Pluto can be about death. It could be about obliteration, destruction, death. You're talking about uh, she also has, at this time, I'm looking at the chart right now, transit Jupiter. Looks like it's conjunct her natal Sun. And the thing about this is, what I'm wondering is, of course, as I've stated in previous videos, Jupiter can be very paradoxical, could be very strongly benign and benevolent, but it could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. I'm wondering if she might have had some physical issues. The Sun can be connected with the physical body. I understand the ascendant, which in her case is Gemini, is going to really, would likely, and I mean, is going to likely dominate physical matters, and also the appearance, but also physical issues and possible debilitations to the physical body. But Jupiter on one sun, transit Jupiter on one sun can sometimes inflate physical issues, and I'm wondering if there might have been problems with the knees, the hamstrings, the bones, or the joints. If she had indeed drowned, were there issues with that that might have been tied into this? She also has, natally, she has Neptune in the eighth house, and of that, of course, can be tied in some case, to possible death related to drowning. Neptune can be associated with drowning, the sea, and of course, the eighth house is associated with death. Now, the thing about it is, the ruler of her eighth house is Saturn in Sagittarius in the seventh house, and that, I mean, the fact that it's in Sagittarius, it may have been, I mean, you're talking about the outdoors, so it's not surprising if this actually did indeed happen. It could have been something that, of course, I mean, Saturn could be planet. I mean, Saturn's a planet associated with things that are depressing, despondency, sadness, and being in Sagittarius, the outdoors. Perhaps that this could be, I mean, I believe, I mean, based on what I'm looking at on her chart, that this could very well indeed be a case of a death that was associated with drowning, especially the Neptune in the eighth house. Now you're talking about, now another thing that I noticed in her chart, I mean, as far as a transit goes, she has transit Neptune, uh, very close proximity to her natal Jupiter in Pisces. And again, when you have Jupiter involved, Jupiter can have the tendency to enlarge and expand. This could enlarge and expand some issues with drowning, I would say. And also, too, another thing that I noticed sadly in her chart is that she has um, the 12th house cusp at 29 degrees Aries. 12th house in astrology can be about endings. And when you're talking about Aries at 29 degrees, can be about one's of sometimes of a volatile or turbulent nature. Now, I don't know if one would perceive that a death associated with drowning would be violent, but the fact that you have 29 degrees on the 12th house cusp, it's a critical degree. 29 degrees in astrology can be a degree of really of crisis, and you're talking about the 12th house in endings, and also 12th house. The 12th house in astrology corresponds with the zodiac sign Pisces, which can Pisces is about the sea. The 12th house, I would say, could be associated with it, and you have 29 degrees on on that cusp of that house. And the thing also I noticed too in her chart is, okay, what I wanted to say is that when, according to a Yahoo News report, is that her son was found sleeping on the boat, which she apparently had been on with her son. The son, I believe, was sleeping at the time on the boat by himself. They did not see her on the boat at this time. And the thing about it is, the ruler of the fourth house, her fourth house cusp is Leo. That ruler of that is in the eighth house. It is the sun. And the thing about that is, it's not surprising that when you look at this, the sun. I mean, you're talking about the sun is her. I mean, is her. I mean, you're talking about that's her sun sign. The fact that Pluto is on that's another indicator that I mean, you're talking about the end of life in the eighth house at this time. And well, I'm sorry, the ruler of the fourth house of the end of life is in the eighth house, and Pluto is conjuncting that ruler. So it's not really surprising to me. Pluto, of course, is the planet of death. Pluto is going to extirpate off in that end, in that particular instance, extirpate, eradicated that end of life period that she could have actually had. The end of life in astrology can be, and it could be subjective, but I would say it's like that latter third of your life, from maybe about 50 years old and on. And also the fact she's got Leo on the cusp of that fourth house, it's not surprising. This would be like a dramatic ending, and the end of life could be potentially, or greater propensity for it to be dramatic, and something that was going to gain some kind of attention. Another thing that I noticed in her chart as well, in a transit, sadly. Transit North Node in Gemini is very close to her natal moon in Gemini at this time. When you're talking about transits involving the North Node in astrology, they could be about issues one may have to confront and address. Now, the moon in astrology, I would say, could be associated with water. Neptune can be associated with water in the sea. The moon could be at least be about liquids, and could be about water as well, I would say. And you're talking about being in Gemini. Gemini rules the hands, and I'm wondering, this could be about some issue when you're talking about somebody that may have drowned. It may have been a possibility she may not have been able to swim, or at least not has been as proficient in swimming as a lot of other people were swimming. Of course, is going to involve the hands, and I'm wondering if this might have had something to do with the drowning, if indeed that did transpire and take place. So, I mean, those are some things that I'm looking at as far as natal placements and transits go in her chart at this time. And really, it's just again, it's just a terrible thing that something like this um, would actually take place. She also had transit Uranus at this time in the 12th house, and sometimes in some cases that can manifest in some very unusual endings. So really, it's really not. I mean, this is terrible. It's really not surprising though that this did take place. I mean, considering the transit she's having. Another thing I noticed, she has the ruler. Her fifth house cusp is Virgo. Now, the ruler of the fifth house, Mercury, is in the eighth house by her sun, by herself, by the sun being the identity, the physical body. I mean, the ascendant is associated more I would say, with the physical body, because it dominates the appearance, the physical body, but the sun can be as well. The ruler of the fifth house, again, the fifth house governs children. Ruler of the fifth house, okay, fifth house, the cusp of the fifth house is Virgo. Ruler of that Mercury is posited in her eighth house. It is right by her sun herself, an indicator of the sun being an indicator of the physical body. Eighth house is the house of death, so it's not really that shocking or bewildering that she was right near her sun near the time at the time of her passing, if that indeed happened, if she did indeed die and succumb to drowning. Being maybe a little bit idealistic or unrealistic, I like to think that, maybe she miraculously survived, maybe she'll be found somewhere else. But based on the transits, it just doesn't really, I mean, to me, does not look, that, that auspicious or promising. But this is a situation that hopefully, maybe it'll be resolved with finding her on the shore somewhere, survive alive. But I'm dubious as far as that goes. But there's really not much more I wanted to say as far as this goes, and it's pretty much what I wanted to get at. But anyway, people. Oh, first, last thing I want to say, if she did indeed pass away, I want to send my condolences out to her friends and to her family at this time. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.